I have one question for you. It may not exactly be an easy question to answer, but I will ask anyway. What video game do you consider to be art? I don't necessarily mean a game that is critically acclaimed. I mean a video game that you think excels in artistic merit. A game that just imprints a strong impression on your mind, even after you finish playing. While you might have your answer, it would be my great pleasure to show you my answer. Greetings all you wonderful people. My name is WoOK, and I'm finally here to tell you all about this small but influential game called Off. For those of you who don't know, Off is an indie RPG originally released on June 5, 2008 by this man, Martin Mortis, also known as Mortis Ghost. And through his company, Unproductive Fun Time, which mainly consisted of himself and alias Conrad Coldwood, the composer and co-producer of Off, made an RPG that not only perplexes players to the core, but also mystifies them with unsettling atmosphere, strange and unique characters, and a very soundtrack that brings iconic and mysterious sense of fear in an RPG Maker game. For this video, I'm going to dive very deep into not only the game itself, but its development and its lasting history on the web, and what is going to help me with, that is an Off Iceberg. An iceberg in internet terms is where any topic, fictional or not, is compiled on a picture of an iceberg with the most common facts being on top and the lesser obscure pieces of trivia being onto bottom. But I decide that I am not going through these icebergs individually. I will try to tell you the entries and trivia that I find to be most compelling and interesting. With that, I also added in a rule for myself. This batter meter is here to tell you guys how much I know about the given entry. When it is completely black, I know absolutely nothing about the topic, and so on and so forth. With that being said, join in with me as I dive very deep into a game about a baseball man that purifies the world, shall we? Pepper Steak. Probably one of the most well-known pieces of music to come from this game, with YouTube views ranging from 1 million to 5 million views. Pepper Steak is the music that plays in almost every battle the batter comes across. Recognized as the game's most prominent use of electro swing, has evolved to become an iconic part of Off's identity in the years after its release. But did you know that Mr. Coldwood actually sampled Pepper Steak from another song of the same name? The 1937 ragtime song by the Washboard King Rhythms, to be specific. If you listen to the song itself, you surely does resemble Pepper Steak in a great amount of ways. I will play a little bit of it so you could understand the similarities. It seems like Mr. Coldwood is no stranger to sampling in his music. Fans over time have noticed many other usage of this technique in Off's OST, such as the track Endless Hallway using sounds from the psychological horror series Silent Hill. Silencio uses music from Quake, and Avatar beat taking sounds from the Sega light gun shooter, The House of the Living Dead. Sugar. Sugar is a secret boss character in Off that has grown a lot of speculation and affinity within the fanbase. Appearing as a feminine figure with baggy jeans, no footwear, and an open shirt with X's covering her breasts, the only way to encounter her is to find all 3 grand items scattered across the purified zones and finding her in the basement at Zone 0. By far, she is the strongest character in the game, but has a large weak point: poison. Her personality is very anxious and strange, as if she has been locked in this basement to the point of insanity. For what reason is completely unknown. She seems to know about Zachary, the game's eccentric merchant, as in the end of the battle, she tells the batter to talk to him for her. implying some sort of relationship. Sugar would go on to become one of the most popular characters in OFF, spawning tons of fan art and cosplay. Translations. While originally a game made in the French language, OFF has been translated by fans into multiple different languages including English, Spanish, Russian, and Polish. Most of these translations do keep relatively the same script and terminology across, with very little changes in terms of names and visuals. But one of the biggest translation changes in the game involves the character D-Dan. D-Dan is the vicious and short-tempered guardian of Zone 1 who gets angry whenever anyone crosses or questions him, which is shown throughout his time in the game, before the batter fights him. Translations before version 3.0. D-Dan asks if the batter is an offensive word. This word would be changed to stupid in later revisions, and continue to remain that way in other languages as well. Ashley Bat. The Ashley Bat is the batter's most powerful weapon he can get in the entire game. The way to get it is to have all of the grand items and defeat Sugar before grabbing it off of Zachary. The bat has great offense with the ability to hit twice, ignores the evasion of opponents, and has the metal, meat, and special attributes in its attacks, which is just overpowered. But at this point, the player would have almost beaten the whole game, so getting the bat really is kind of redundant in the long run. But it is cool to have, I guess. Space Apes. Only appearing in one of the game's 3 endings. The way to see these characters is again talk to Zachary after getting the grand items, but ask for the Ares card instead. Then finish the game, but after the end credits, there would be an exclusive cutscene of ape-like creatures with goggles spouting off on how they can build their empire now that everybody's dead. It is a very bizarre change of tone from the rest of the game, and completely just gives the game a whole new set of questions. Luckily, this ending is a joke, not canon from the rest of the game. This ending also serves as another reference to Silent Hill, as the series is known for its weird joke endings. Home. While I debated on rather not to put fan games in here, I just feel like this one is kind of integral to OFF and the fanbase. Home is a fan game that adds in a lot of different aspects from the original OFF. Headed by a huge fan of the game, Felix, who went under the online name Felix the Judge, and a lot of other collaborators, Home puts the player in control of the character the Judge, who seeks out to stop the batter in his purifying crusade while meeting new friends and encountering obstacles and puzzles in his way. The fan game has new characters, enemies, a different storyline, and even new music. The fan game gained a lot of praise within most of the OFF fanbase, mainly for being a different twist on many of the things done in OFF, and has almost become synonymous with the game itself in terms of popularity. Sadly, Felix, the Judge, passed away due to a car crash in 2017, but fans have agreed to never forget his contribution to OFF and the community. It even got permission and approval from Mr. Ghost, even though he would pronounce his later distaste for fan games. I will put the way to download Home in my sources in the description. Now that first tier is mainly about stuff that is common knowledge among the OFF community, but with this tier, I tried to find the trivia that is lesser known, even if you are already a fan, so let's get into it. Dopefish. Called the dumbest creature in the universe, the character Dopefish first appeared in the Commander Keen series of video games, but has since become a meme, and also been Easter egged in a ton of other titles like Doom. In Zone 1, when the batter reaches the barns in the Damien portion, there is a circle at the end of a building. When stepped on, the player can see Dopefish hopping out of the ocean for a split second. Elements. The elements are what make up the world of OFF. These elements take the form of human, dependable, and harmful substances. They what make the mythos of OFF very interesting to many fans, because of how out of the ordinary they are. These elements are smoke, metal, plastic, meat, and sugar. It is not known why Mr. Ghost decided to choose these specifically to make up the world, but I guess it's just another thing to make the game more unusual and unique compared to other games and RPGs. Off's 10th anniversary stream. On June 5, 2018, exactly 10 years after the game was released, Mr. Ghost decided to host a 5-hour-long livestream playing the game and answering fan questions about it. He and Mr. Coldwood often joke throughout, but in between Mr. Ghost will give answers and headcanons on characters such as the Batter and Sugar are lesbians, but Bad Batter is also asexual. Zachary and the Batter are together in a different universe. The Batter is the Aries, and the fact that the Batter and the Queen have absolutely no relationship to each other. But amongst the jokes, some actual pieces of information about Off and its development can be found in this livestream, and it is quite rare for Mr. Ghost to do any sort of live interviews, so I recommend you check out the full stream linked in my sources. Off's inspirations. While a common misconception is that Mr. Ghost took some inspiration from the Mother series of RPGs made by Shigesato Itoi and released by Nintendo to make Off, and technically the first English translations were published through starmen.com, a huge Earthbound fan site, Mr. Ghost has gone on record saying that he was inspired by a multitude of different media, and that the Mother similarities were just a coincidence. The aforementioned Silent Hill being the biggest influence, along with the 2005 hack and slash game Killer 7, which features themes of morality. Mr. Ghost also said that the Final Fantasy series, more specifically the 6th entry, was also a big influence on the game. One other one being the 1993 puzzle exploration game, Myst. The influences are clear and Off, as it is a RPG filled to the brim with puzzles, violence, and mystery. Also to note is that many of the game's weapons are named after artists that Mr. Ghost likes as well. The inspirations also extend to the music. Mr. Coldwood has explained in detail on the Unproductive Fun Time website all the media he was influenced by while composing Off. Tumblr fanbase. In the early years of Off's release, many users of the social networking website Tumblr took a keen interest in the game and started a whole fanbase frenzy about it, posting fan art, theories and speculations. It was obvious this game became many Tumblr users' most favored horror indie game at the time. Even some of the translations were posted there, and in fact, by 2013, it was the most reblogged and talked about game on the site. Remains of that part of the fanbase are still available, and is now probably looked back as a fond memory by many fans. In fact, I think Off thrived on that site in its early years more than anything, as Mr. Ghost himself posted everything from Q&A to announcements and even links to the translations. Von Gacy. In the dormitories of Zone 3, there is a puzzle that requires the Batter to put in a secret code to unlock a door. In the puzzle there is a white silhouette of a certain enemy that can be encountered, leaving that as the only hint. That enemy is called Von Gacy, and the reason why I put it here in the Iceberg is because I feel like the game made it a bit too obvious on what the answer to the puzzle was, and the fact that Von Gacy has a much higher encounter rate than other enemies. Also, Von Gacy is named after a real-life serial killer who was known for wearing a clown outfit and killing children. Tan Black. Tan Black is a content creator and artist who is known for making Off fan art and animations. I think that their fan art is high quality, and I appreciate them so much. In fact, apparently they are in the process of making an Off animated tribute series, well as the making of this video, that is. Links to their socials in the sources below. No Clip Elson. In the Elson portion of Zone 1 at the train, there would be an Elson over on another platform where the player can't reach. If the player uses no clip or looks in the game's data, the Elson actually has dialogue. He would say the following: You are reading this, then that means you have the power of no clip. Help Dismal find his fruit cup. That is all. It is unknown who Dismal is, but it might just be an inside joke among the translators or even among Mr. Ghost and Mr. Coldwood. Music box. The player can obtain a music box and give it to Zachary by doing very specific actions. They first must find the box in a chest during the endless hallway section of Zone 3, then find Zachary in a secret part of the hallway where you can give it to him and he would say to read a file in the game's data called Read Me for in secret chest in the room. The music box itself just plays a sped up version of Race of a Thousand Ants, Hugo's main theme. Epsilon early. In Zone 3, you can actually get the add-on Epsilon earlier than the room before the fight with Enoch. In the puzzle tile room, there are 2 doors, one leading to a cutscene with specters and an Elson, and the one next to it having Epsilon in it. To my knowledge, this is the only add-on to have the possibility of appearing in 2 rooms. Religious themes. In Off, there are many references in its dialogue that seem to relate to Christianity and other similar parallels. Many of the names of the characters like the Guardians have references to biblical characters such as Japhet and Dedan. Even the Batter makes many callouts to the devil in the way he speaks to the Guardians, such as when he calls Enoch, child of the devil. The Batter seems to think he is a savior, here to purify the zones. Even his title in the menu is called Savior, and the add-ons have similar titles like Holy Spirit. There is so much more that goes into this topic that I can't really explain too well, so I'm gonna to leave a link to a Reddit post explaining this better than I can. Official merchandise. Aside from fan-made merchandise of the game, Mr. Ghost actually does sell shirts and prints of Off on Redbubble in his own art style. Indie Game Battle. Indie Game Battle is a crossover fighting game made by Blob Game Studios that was meant to feature a bunch of characters from titles by indie developers. The Batter was supposed to also show up in the game, but the game was actually cancelled before its release, more than likely due to its bad reception by audiences. Concept art. Mr. Ghost over the years has uploaded a lot of concept art relating to Off, including enemies, story beats, and locations. Some of these concepts include the fact that the judge, or Pablo, was actually going to eat Japhet at some point instead of Valerie. Enoch was originally going to have a crown on his head, likely the same crown the player fights in the dormitories. Strange cut enemies called ball gnomes that was supposed to show up in the Ballville section of the game. Whatever this is, possibly an early version of Dedan with a huge head for some reason. And honestly, so much more. Funnily enough, some of the art actually did end up as battle sprites in the final game, such as the case with Japhet and Enoch. The Off Wiki complied all the concept art, so I will link it there if you want to see more. Hula hoops or onion rings. This is just a meme within the community that the add-ons look like hula hoops and or onion rings. Here are some images relating to the meme. Unused music. Off does have a plethora of unused music attached to its name. Much of this unused music does seem to be early versions of songs, such as some battle themes like The Meaning of His Tears. But also, there are songs that never show up, such as Hip 2. and outside flesh fountain. This music still does relatively keep the same atmospheric and creepy vibe of the soundtrack, but some use different instruments. Most of these music are found on the website The Cutting Room Floor, but also a YouTuber named Lumen Woodkin provided a video compilation of all the unused music linked in my sources, and you want to hear more. The off beta or demo. The off beta is lost media. Don't think any fan actually got into play. Well, at the time of making this, sure, in the credits there were beta testers, but as of now, there is no official beta builds of this game. Just concept art and unused music. I am surprised no one has gone looking for it yet. The earliest screenshot, dated August 22, 2010, on the French RPG Maker website, is the only public evidence of OFF's first release. Another strong piece of evidence of the demo is on the Cutting Room Floor, where 3 screenshots of the demo from 2007 are present, but it is not known who submitted them. Also of note that I found out myself is that the Unproductive Funtime website actually existed since 2004, which I found quite surprising. Zachary boss fight? While you go on purifying all types of enemies in this world, Zachary is literally the only character the batter never engages in combat with at all. It does make sense, he is the only merchant in the game, but I do think it's weird how the batter completely ignores him, especially in the later portions of the story. That was until a video uploaded by Deco on May 11, 2013, which showed the batter fighting Zachary. Many fans believe this was an actual battle in OFF, but this was untrue. This is actually a planned fight for the Fangame end, but the game at this point in time have possibly been cancelled. But you can fight him in home as well. In both battles, he dons wings and a sword, a reference to some drawings Mr. Ghost did. OVO. The batter makes an unofficial appearance in the rhythm game OVO, where he can be a playable character. In order to get him, you must complete a level and get an achievement called Purified, which of course references OFF. OFF extended added to this collection. Just let me know. Alias Conrad Coldwood at gmail.com. You guys are crazy. Love you all. End quote. I mean, at least he mentioned that the original creators of the fan-made music can contact him for removal, but honestly, the fact that the composer of OFF thought the music was so good it should be added to an album, I feel like that is a compliment in my opinion. The album is updated as of this video and can be downloaded at the Unproductive Funtime website. Four-Eyed Batter and Sweater Zachary. There is a common interpretation of the batter's appearance in that he actually has 4 eyes underneath his cap. I don't know where this idea originated from, but it has become a popular addition to many fan art of the batter. Alongside this is a joke in the fanbase about Zachary and his neck being deformed and uncomfortable. So in appreciation of these jokes and interpretations, Mr. Ghost actually did end up drawing the batter with many eyes on his face and Zachary with a sweater to hide his neck. Mr. Ghost's other works. Before OFF, Mr. Ghost made a few more other titles for different purposes, mostly to play at Game Jam-like events. These games were Duplo, a short RPG that was made in a day, a puzzle game called Free Puzzle, where players can import their own images, and another short RPG made in a weekend called There Is a Picture. I'm not sure if these games were just stepping stones to making OFF, but I think it's interesting to see the games he made before his claim to cult fame. Also to note is that these games were also a collaborated effort with Mr. Coldwood. Just like with the extended soundtrack, these games can still be downloaded on the Unproductive Funtime website. The Judge Game Over Ending. In Zone 0 at the beginning of the game, during the tutorial with the judge, the player can hit Pablo multiple times, even when he says not to. If the player continues to hit him, the judge actually causes a game over. Here is a video of it by Kite Playstuff. Off comic strip. Mr. Ghost did actually make one comic about Off. The strip itself depicts the batter being asked by an Elson to get rid of specters in his house, and he does so in a swift manner after grabbing a bat from Zachary, making the Elson pass out. It's cute, and I like it. The batter and the Queen's different looks. One missable detail about the batter and the character the Queen, or rather Vader Elaha, is that different characters see their appearances different from others. Even the player themselves see the batter as a human figure resembling a baseball player, but other characters such as Sugar call him a terrifying ducky. It is later revealed in the judge special ending, she was not lying as suddenly, the batter turns into this terrifying creature with long sharp claws, hollow eyes, and an alligator-like mouth, dubbed Bad Batter by fans. It is also implied the Queen has this perception ability too, as Dan exclaims, by the Queen's 1,000 faces, though what forms these are and for what purposes is unclear. Translation error. A big oversight in the 1.0 and 2.0 translations is that when the batter confronts the Queen in the room, she says, "I won't let you lay a finger on the child we brought in this world," when it was actually written as, "I won't let you lay a finger on the child that brought us into this world," giving the line completely different meaning. Fans now interpret this line as confirmation that Hugo was not birthed, but rather created the batter and the Queen to be his adoptive parents. This line is also seen as the biggest translation oversight in the game, due to how important it is for the multiple interpretations of the game's messages and themes. Dossier SG. Hiding in the original French release of Off's folders is one titled Dossiers. In said folder is a PDF file that is a 12-page review of Off, made only by Mr. Ghost himself. The review goes untranslated from French, and seems to cover everything from the area designs to characters, and even the way battles are, all in a sarcastic and hyperbolic tone. While the file in its entirety goes untranslated, parts have been on Reddit. Off Remastered. A group of fans are making a remastered version of Off, adding changes such as small visual additions to the UI and save files, huge layout changes, adding more enemies in some areas to increase the difficulty and others. The biggest change to the original is the inclusion of voice acting. Been a project that has been going on for a while with a few delays here and there, but recently for the game has been released, which can be found in my sources, along with more information and details. Zachary's offices. Zachary has two secret locations in the game. In the amusement park in Zone 2, there is a small entrance at the Pelado riding segment that is blocked by a Elson. If the player obtains the picture of the roller coaster with the Zachary statue and goes to talk to the Elson, he will allow it. In the room, there is only a single chair and 6 chests that individually contain an orb in the game. Each orb increases a lot of things to the batter and the party, including speed, offense, defense, and e-spirit, or a system in RPG Maker that counts if the player can hit an opponent in a battle. Another secret room can be found in Zone 1. If you enter 87,666 in the elevator, it will take you to a small room with Zachary, who will give you the last orb. Watchman reference. In Chapter 2 of the room, Boxer's Adventures, graffiti on a building says, "Who has watched The Watchmen?" A reference to the movie adaptation of the Watchmen series of comics. This is likely to be missed by an average player on their first playthrough as they are speeding past the road and avoiding Ballman. Strangely enough, that movie was released in 2009, a whole year after Off was first released, so it is possible this was implemented from one of the English translators. Unused ads. In the sketches folder of the French release lays these images. Now, the purposes of these images as a whole is largely unknown, but many have speculated they may have been used for ads to promote off. Rather or not the images would have appeared in game or not is also a mystery. Some have even said some of these ads, like the one with the saturated picture of someone resembling the batter and the judge and the somewhere over the rainbow one actually show up as pop-ups on the game's official website at some point, but this has been unconfirmed. Some of these images give me weird vibes and without context just make them more disturbing in my opinion. Mr. Ghost DeviantArt account. Yes, Mr. Ghost does indeed have a DeviantArt account. While he is relatively inactive on there, the account itself is practically a goldmine for information about OFF, with comments dating back to 2013, which include the fact that Enoch was voiced by Mr. Ghost at the last minute. There was apparently a screamer virus, but that has been unconfirmed to be true, and Enoch is a human. There's honestly so much more tidbits like that on this one account, it's just crazy to me. Hugo's clothes mishap. Another common misconception happens later in the game, when many fans have thought that Hugo was wearing a red outfit in his battle, but actually, he is holding a large piece of ham, which makes sense as he is the guardian of the meat element in the story. Also, a thing I think is interesting in this image is that Hugo has dots on his head, which are strangely absent in the final game. So here it is, the final stretch of the iceberg. By far, I've tried to cover trivia that I don't even think the average fan knows. So in this last tier I scrapped the bottom of the barrel to uncover all the hidden goodies this game has to offer. So buckle up, we are in the deep end now. The name Elson was fan-made. I could not really find a source of these, but the wiki states that so many people were calling the human NPCs Elsons so much that Mr. Ghost decided that was their official name. The name Elson does appear near the train in Zone 1, which could have played a factor into the naming convention. Secret chests. There are actually a ton of secret areas in OFF that hold a good amount of supplies. In Purified Zone 1, it's possible to find the inspiration. If you get the music box and play in a room in Chapter 3, you can find the ultimate offensive item for an add-on. Swimming out of bounds in Zone 2 also yields a similar result, and flipping a secret switch in the smoke mines can give you 3 health items. Big shoutouts to Panzer Skank on the Let's Play archive for posting these pictures. Coma theory. Yes. The most widely talked about and accepted theory by fans is the theory of Hugo being a sick or dying kid in a hospital and the entire game of OFF takes place in his head. The theory includes the batter and the queen being his parents, the guardians possibly being the doctors and the Elson just being regular bystanders. I can't really explain it fully, and I can't really find a concrete source that explains the theory in full detail, but if anyone has that posted somewhere, please let me know. I have run out of oxygen. In the library at Zone 2, there is a book that can read that only has one single note on a page. I have run out of oxygen. It is completely unknown who wrote this note and what happened to them afterwards, but that is what makes it creepy and unnerving. People think that an Elson wrote it, which is more than likely true, but some also think a human, well, an average human, wrote it and died of dyspnea due to the world of OFF's atmosphere being made out of plastic. Either way, this note is just another example on how I think OFF can be disturbing with its implications. Not safe, cry for help. I think that the track, Not Safe, is already an unsettling piece of music to listen to while the batter travels through the empty purified zones. But what is more disturbing is the random voice that is heard in it. Off's music has a lot of whispering in it, but unlike other music like Silentico, voice is loud and audible, accompanying by equally loud banging noises. People have speculated that the voice is screaming, "Help," and "I am trapped," while others think that the voice is actually speaking French with similar messages. Who actually provides this voice is not known. Zachary skinned Valerie? Through the second half of the game, coincidentally after defeating Japhet and Valerie, Zachary is seen wearing a different mask, one that resembles a cat. He says he used this mask to trick the batter into believing he was the judge, but I really wondered, where did he get and/or made that mask? And why is it a cat at all? At first, I thought Zachary skinned Valerie's face and used as a mask, and was not the only person who thought that either. His fans asked Mr. Ghost about the situation, which he replied he wouldn't do such a thing for Pablo's sake. But if that is not the case, where did it come from? Pepper Steak Shuffle. This just a video I found on YouTube by The Dancing Batter that depicts a man in white face and body paint dancing to Pepper Steak, and I just find it a bit creepy out of context. The batter is suicidal. This is one of my own theories, and is that the batter wants to die. Throughout the whole game, he seems to be unaffected by death and murder, and even takes glee from it from time to time. Even at the final switch, when he knows what it does, he does it anyway for his mission. He completely disregards the Queen and Hugo, and he is not afraid of risking his life from of the Guardians or Spectres. It seems like to me his mission is all he wants to complete in his life, even if it means dying at the end. And there you have it, people, my explanation of the Off Iceberg. This was a joy for me to make it, and really hope you enjoyed it. If you are already a fan, I hope you learned something you didn't know before, and if you did, wonderful. I love this game to death, and trying to find all the information on was a treat I will never forget. Shoutouts to the YouTubers I mentioned in this video and the ones who provided the images. But a huge thank you to Mr. Ghost and his team for making this piece of art that will never leave my head for years to come. There are some other things I could cover, so might make a bonus video later on. But besides, that concludes the end of my video about Off, the game that I will forever think of as a cult classic. Whoa, okay, signing out. Have a good day, all you amazing people.